The Lakers get beamed in Sacramento in arguably the worst loss of the season. What exactly is going wrong here? That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, sometimes on Saturdays and Sundays, and occasionally on holidays even, no matter where you get your podcasts. This one is never behind a paywall. You might be getting it from Spotify or Apple, or maybe you're one of the 37,000 subscribers to the Locked On Lakers YouTube channel. No matter how you do it, we appreciate you helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the number one sports podcast network in this or any other known universe. Brian Kamenetsky with Andy Kamenetsky. Long time we've spent covering the Lakers, Andy, for a variety of prominent outlets. And my God, it's hard to think of too many losses that are worse than this one. I mean, 124-112 to the Sacramento Kings. This is certainly a 5%er in terms of the upper echelon of really bad losses.
Nearly 20 years covering the Lakers with ESPN, the LA Times, the Athletic, 710 ESPN. And you see a lot of bad games in those nearly 20 years. And this one ranks high among all of them. The Kings just got their 10th win this season. It was fueled by former Laker Malik Monk, who at one point, Doug Christie was opting not to play for reasons nobody could understand, and also fueled in part by former Laker Russell Westbrook, which I know is it's taking like lemon, salt, and every single uncomfortable thing you could put inside an open wound with like a hammer.
Battery acid?
Oh, sure. And you're like using the pulling part of a hammer to stir all that stuff around.
It's like exfoliating your face with a cheese grater. It's just unpleasant. It's nothing good here.
It's also, too, it's nothing else. It is a reminder, and this is sort of the burden that the Lakers bear fairly uniquely across the league. And this is not to, and you will see that over the course of this show, we are not letting the Lakers off the hook for what happened tonight at all. But it is a reminder that even the teams that may be in open tanking mode, they never tank against the Lakers. Teams will always play hard, want to win against the Lakers, especially if that team happens to be the Sacramento Kings.
Right. And I do want to let people know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Yeah. I mean, everybody's going to get up for the Lakers. We know all of these things, and the thing is, the Lakers got to get up for Laker games. Like that's, if the other team is going to show up and get excited to play the Lakers, and the Lakers need to be excited to play Laker games as well. And look, they got off to a good start. It's not that the Lakers didn't come out playing, like it looked for a minute like they might build one of these, 15, 20, 25 point leads and cruise to victory. And a lot of things went wrong for them in terms of the quality of their own shooting, which we will get to. They shot 22%, needed 2 late Bronny threes to get over 20%. Or the fact that the Kings, who are equally terrible from 3-point range as the Lakers are, shot 65% from 3-point range.
To put this in perspective, only one King, Nick Clifford, who's not really, he takes a couple threes a game, but he's not really a 3-point guy.
Yeah.
He's the only King during the actual minutes that mattered who took a 3 and didn't make at least one. By contrast, during the minutes that actually mattered, Luka Doncic and Gabe Vincent were the only Lakers who made more than one. Like, you cannot win it, or it is damn difficult to win a basketball game when one team shoots 65% on even lower volume and your team shoots 22% from behind the arc. Like, it is difficult to make the math in that context.
You combine that with 14 of 19 from DeMar DeRozan, the Lakers were in some real trouble there. I mean, look, the problem here, like the defense was not good. I'm not going to sit here and praise the defense and say it was better than it looked and all the 65%. Some of that is bad defense. Some of that is just statistically unlikely good shooting from the Kings. It's fine. We don't need to, and they left him open too much. There were some bad rotations. The Lakers had.
They shot well from inside the arc as well. Right. They shot really well from inside the arc.
Had opportunities to make wide open, uncontested threes and miss them too. We can talk about the defense, but look, the Lakers got 42 from Luka, an efficient 42, 16 of 25. He was 8 of 8 from the free throw line. He had 8 assists. He had 4 steals. Like Luka showed up. And LeBron for much of the game at least was sort of game, if nothing else.
I thought LeBron was okay in this game.
He was fine.
Not bad, but he was not particularly.
He wasn't great. He wasn't bad, but he was game. The Lakers got 3 points from co-starters Marcus Smart and Jake LaRavia. If you add in Jared Vanderbilt, who played 26 minutes. And I know nobody relies on Jared Vanderbilt to score, but in 26 minutes, it's a lot of floor time to have no points. The 3 of them were outscored, doubled up by Bronny in slightly under 2 minutes of garbage time. The Lakers were just put on one of the most inept offensive performances that you're ever going to see in an NBA game. And it impacts the defense in a lot of ways. And, JJ alluded to it, a couple other, people, in the post game in the studio, if you watch Spectrum Sportsnet, they were alluding to it too. When you shoot 22% from 3-point range, you are generally speaking, giving up a lot of long rebounds. You're giving up a lot of transition opportunities. If the ball never goes in the basket. And then there was a stretch in second quarters. Not only they were missing shots, they weren't passing. Like the ball did not move for about 8 minutes. And that's when Sacramento goes out of there. You cannot play defense if you're the Lakers without running a better offense than this.
I mean, what's crazy though is I agree there were parts, and progressively as the game went along, I thought the offense got more and more incoherent. It started out great. They ran essentially 1-5-4 Luka Doncic pick and roll with Ayton. Ayton then finds LeBron cutting along the baseline. Really nice dump off pass for an easy basket. Like the first, I don't know, maybe 7 to 10 minutes of the game, I thought the Lakers.
Yeah, they look good.
They looked good, but they also, I used the word before, coherent. Like they looked coherent on that end. Increasingly, as the game went along, I thought they looked less and less coherent. After a string of, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 games where it's felt like LeBron and Luka were starting to gain some synergy. That synergy, I think, over the last couple of games is starting to dissipate. I know it becomes more difficult the more guys you are missing, but even judged through that prism, it feels like it's starting to wane.
There were a couple of plays. We should note Rui Hachimura didn't play in the game. The Lakers held him out to be able to play Wednesday against the Hawks at home, knowing then they're learning that he'd only be able to play in one of these
Tuesday against the Hawks.
Tuesday. Sorry, thank you. Tuesday at home against the Hawks, and so with the back-to-back, they saved him he suited up, but they saved him for Tuesday.
As our friend Anthony Irwin pointed out over Twitter, he noticed that Rui was in both his warm-ups and his jewelry. That's a good sign that you're not playing.
I was watching because I was sitting there going, man, this is a really big minutes restriction here.
Yeah.
Like this is very
JJ said after the game, I believe he used the word extreme.
Right, but I mean,
minutes.
I didn't realize that he wasn't going to play in this game until I saw, I think it was Mike Trudell who, tweeted
Well, I mean,
tweeted about it.
our source for Monday's show when we said Rui was going to play was Rui Hachimura. So
Right.
he felt like a pretty good guy to ask.
He would know. But yeah, so I saw that from Trudell that the Lakers were considered, and that obviously at that point when Rui didn't step foot on the floor in the first half, you're like, well, that's probably what's going on here. But let's talk about this one after the break, because yes, when you're missing people, like what's going on here? How much of this is missing personnel? How much of this is, about the synergy is missing personnel? Like how much can LeBron and Luka do together when there is no more really infrastructure at all offensively? We'll get to it next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Game Time. During basketball season, there is nothing like being in the building, the energy, the crowd, that first big run that gets everyone on their feet. Fans want to be there for those moments, not stuck refreshing screens or guessing what the tickets are actually going to cost with all the fine print. And that's where Game Time comes in. The Game Time app gives that power back to the fans, making it incredibly easy to score amazing tickets, fast, simple, and without the guesswork. Browsing the Game Time app, straightforward, intuitive. Finding tickets takes just a few taps, and the prices, this is awesome, they're included up front with all the fees, all the red tape, all the whatever. So the total clear from the start, and whether we're talking about an NBA game or another live event, everything is just right there. You know all the information. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today. Get in on the action.
Locked on Lakers is also brought to you by ZocDoc. Finding a doctor you can actually like, it can feel like discovering a diamond in the rough. You want somebody who's in network, who's nearby, who's got some availability, but you also want a doctor who actually listens to you, makes you feel comfortable, explains things clearly, and helps you walk out feeling confident about your next steps in your health. Your diamond in the rough doctor exists, and finding them is easy with ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high quality in-network doctors. That in-network part, that can be important, so that you can choose someone that you truly connect with. It's great to be able to search specialty or symptoms and things like that, so you can find the right fit. You want to be messing around with internists if you need an orthopedist, that kind of thing. And you can choose in-person or video visit, which makes scheduling a whole lot easier. So stop putting off doctor's appointments. Go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA to find and instantly book a doctor that you love today. That's ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA, ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA. Thanks to ZocDoc for sponsoring this message. It's interesting, as I was sort of watching throughout the game, that interplay, like what there is, between LeBron and Luka. And there were times, when they were working well. I thought the worst offense in this game was by far when Luka wasn't on the floor. I mean, LeBron is not good enough at this point to carry, night in and night out.
I was going to say to do it reliably on command. I'm not going to say he can't do it at all, because we've seen him.
He did it the other night,
right? We've seen him do it, but he can't just summon it on cue in a way that you can count on. Which means 41, fine,
right? But when you surround him with that group that was out there with Luka off the floor and LeBron out there, there's just nothing there to work through. There's no secondary threat. There's not, and LeBron's going to generate all this stuff himself. It doesn't work. And then you end up with these possessions where the ball doesn't move. LeBron takes early clock threes, or you get one pass. The other, guys didn't want to shoot, so they're throwing it right back to LeBron, and then, okay. Luka basically was operating under similar circumstances. He's just Luka, and he's able to still make that work and create, despite defenses putting a lot of attention on him. There were a couple plays where you see Luka penetrate, pass back to LeBron. LeBron takes that opportunity really, to catch on the move and attack. Like, he's doing a lot of that and recognizing that ability and taking advantage of any opportunity to put the ball on the floor without a player standing right in front of him. They could do more. The supporting cast around them, broadly speaking, was so bad and is missing so much like shot creation skill that Luka the only reason Luka looked the way he did is because he's that good. It's incredibly frustrating to watch.
It is frustrating to watch. In particular, too, it was the outside shooting where it really just, that lack of production from the supporting cast really was emphasized, because they did get 13 points, 13 rebounds from DeAndre Ayton, 5 on the offensive glass, a couple of blocks. Like, I thought,
Ayton played fine.
But I was also going to say Jackson Hayes had 12 points, 5 of 6 from the field. He had 4 offensive rebounds. Like, those two guys, whether because they were cleaning up or they were set up off lobs, like, if you can get 32 points combined from Ayton and Hayes, like, if you get a even semi-respectable, production from everybody else, that should be foundationally enough, adequate, maybe even more than enough. But you look up and down like, in particular, the outside shooting piece of this, like, Jake LaRavia was 1 of 7 from the field. 5 of those attempts were from behind the arc. Marcus Smart, 0 of 5. 3 were from behind the arc. Like, LeBron missed all 5 of the threes that he tried. I remember one of them was a corner 3. He was so wide open, he had time to take a dribble, reset, and he missed it pretty bad. Like, even Luka's night, for everything he did, and, Lord knows the dude tried to put the team on his back, he was 2 of 9 from behind the arc. Vando took only 3 shots in this game. All 3 of them were threes. It's not a formula I love, but he missed all 3 of them. Connect, 6 field goal attempts. 4 of them were behind the arc. He only made 1 of them. Like, that's Gabe Vincent chipped in his part.
Connect did take one when they were down by, with about a minute and a half left, when they were down by 17. I was shocked it didn't go in.
Like, Gabe was the only guy tonight who made, he was 3 of 5 from behind the arc. So 60%, that's great for Gabe. But, like, he's the only guy that you would look at as a floor spreader who did anything along the lines of expectation, but he still only had 9 points on the game. It's not
right.
Like,
he had a couple big threes in one of the sort of pushes that the Lakers made, where it seemed like, well, maybe if they can get a couple stops, they can get back into. I think they got as close as 7 at one point. And Gabe, to his credit, hit a couple big threes to help make that possible. But JJ was asked the other day, if he believes they have enough shooting to win. And he said, yes, because, like, what else are you going to say? But the answer is no. The answer is so obviously no. And without Rui in the lineup, without Reeves in the lineup, it's that much worse. They're a borderline perimeter team with those guys available. And theoretically, the presence, especially of Reeves, makes it easier for everyone. Ayton gets easier shots, like all that kind of stuff. But there is no universe in which the Lakers are a good perimeter shooting team. They're not.
But again, they managed to get a combined 9 of 13 inside from Ayton and Hayes. Like,
those guys were good. Sure.
Right. And again, some of that in particular with Hayes, Jax was cleaning up a lot of misses, but the point being, like, there were
opportunities.
But, like, the lack of outside shooting, they still managed to get at least respectable production inside. And what's funny is if you look across the different stats, like the Lakers had more rebounds than the Kings. Like I recognize Kings missed it less, whatever, but like defensive rebound, like they did a good job in, they took reasonable care of the ball. They only turned it over 10 times. Like, they got to the line 28 times. They missed 6 of them. They need to, as a team, make more of the free throws that the offense is very predicated on, but they got to the line 28 times, only 14 for the Kings. Like, there were a lot of areas in which they actually held their own or outperformed Sacramento. But again, that wide of a discrepancy from behind the arc when 3 is more than 2, and Sacramento was making a fair amount of 2s on top of it.
Yeah, DeMar DeRozan was 14 of 19 from the floor. So you're 60, and he did not take a 3. So you're 65% from beyond the arc, and you have a guy taking 19 shots inside the arc who makes 14 of them. And like you say, and yet, if the Lakers were even somewhat competent shooting the ball, still could have won the game. I mean, it is. I know the defense rightly gets criticized for not being good, and at times, they've I don't want to say turned a corner over the last, but like they've been a little better, over the last few games. If you are a bad or weak or average, whatever defensive team, you put so much extra pressure on your defense. If you can't play offense, if you can't make a 3-pointer, if you can't make a team take the ball out of their basket and instead are constantly giving up long rebounds that lead to transition opportunities, you just can't live that way. It makes it so much harder.
Well, coming up next, we can talk about if there are any other ways that they can discover to live, at least until they become fully whole, which is not going to be happening anytime soon. So talk about that coming up next.
I carry a lot of responsibility in my household. If something happened to me, there would be serious consequences. We have a mortgage. We got tuition. We got everyday bills. Those aren't going anywhere if something happens to me. And I know that's an overwhelming feeling, but I'm taking steps to protect my family by getting life insurance through Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast, easy, and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. And as of March 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. Ethos has 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 3,000 reviews. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/LocdownNBA. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get your free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/LocdownNBA. That's ethos.com/LocdownNBA. Ethos.com/LocdownNBA. Application times and rates may vary.
Oh man, it is just this is what this is, Andy. It's a perfect time for people to join the Everydayer Club. Because when you have to suffer through a terrible Lakers loss, and you want to listen to us because we're with you, win or lose. You don't want to sit through commercials. You just want to get to the part where you get to yell at people. Or whatever.
Yell at us. I get, it's kind of our job tonight. You can yell at us.
You just want to hear how terrible things are and get real mad. And you can't do that with commercials. And so for $5 a month, $50 a year, you can join the Everydayer Club. That will get you a feed of Locked On Lakers that comes to you without any commercial interruption. It also gives you an invitation to the Locked On Lakers Discord chat, which is something that you can get in there and jump in with other fans, when me and Andy, and just enjoy yourself, and or wallow in sorrow after things like Monday's loss. LockedOnLakers.supercast.com, where you can check out the show notes for the Everyday Club.
We were talking before about what they can do during this period. Hopefully Rui can start playing, back-to-backs, non-extreme minutes limitation relatively soon. LeBron, his back-to-backs are TBD. He recently said after one of the games last week that it's going to be a TBD situation for the rest of the season. I want to say that after Atlanta, and I have to double check this, but off the top of my head, I believe they have 6 more back-to-backs. My hope would be that after the All-Star break and you really start getting into the nitty-gritty of the season, you really start getting into a place where both you are jockeying for playoff positioning, maybe, a round of home court, but at the very least, trying to.
Well, they're getting dangerously close to jockeying to avoid the play-in.
Well, I was going to say, or to avoid the play-in. However you want to put this, and you just want to be rounding into your best form possible, which means the most amount of minutes and reps together. I would like to think that by, say, late February, early March, LeBron will be able to play in back-to-backs. But until then, here's part of the problem. For all of the incoherence that we talked about offensively in terms of how the Lakers were executing a lot from basically quarters 2 through 4, the threes that were missed for the most part were wide open. Regardless of how they were being generated. Like, you can make tweaks to the system, make tweaks to the sets that they run, do all of that stuff. None of it makes a damn bit of difference if you are going to miss that many wide open looks. Like, at some point, Mike Trudell, our friend who is the sideline reporter for the Lakers Spectrum Sportsnet, started to ask JJ a question about, like makes versus misses. Like, is it really that simple, or, something else? JJ's like, no, it really is that simple. Like, They made their shots. We didn't. Russell Westbrook made 4 threes in this game. Nobody other than Gabe and Luka made more than 2. Like, Malik Monk had almost as many threes in this game as the Lakers did as a team.
Yes.
Like, until Bronny came in and made 2 in garbage time, Malik Monk had more by himself, 7, than the Lakers had as a team, 6. And again, it's not because the Lakers had to take these threes with, 2 sets of arms in their faces. They just weren't making makeable shots.
And that has a very negative effect on morale. It's like we joke about, it's like, you look around the league and like just the guys, they're not even necessarily like just great players, but just dudes that you look at that are just snipers. Like, a Sam Merrill on the Cavs, not a, flashy player or whatever, but like just a dude who on some nights going to hit 8 3-pointers. Norm Powell's obviously a step above that, but a guy who can, just blow up from 3-point range. Like
Malik Monk.
What?
Malik Monk.
Yes.
The guy they thought they had in Malik Beasley that one season.
Yes. And like the Lakers keep trying. It's a ship has sailed at this point, but like, this is why it seemed like such a great fit that Connect was available, because, you're talking about a guy who was seen as, one of the best pure shooters in the draft. And in addition to the other stuff that they thought he'd be able to do offensively, just, that pure shooting ability was something the Lakers desperately need. And his inability to provide it has become a larger and larger and larger problem, because there just isn't anybody. Like, I like Marcus Smart. I'm glad they signed him. I wish they could have signed him and kept Jordan Goodwin. We don't need to relitigate why they couldn't, but like, the more you have to depend on Marcus Smart to be an offensive player, the worse you're going to be. He's best when everybody's around and he can kind of sneak in, and all of a sudden you look up and Smart's got 11 points. That's perfect. But the lack of offensive talent on this team of guys who are currently available behind Luka and then LeBron is staggering. Like, you just can't you can't do it with that supporting cast at this level.
Yeah, it's not doable. Like, these guys, I mean, again, you can tweak schemes. Obviously, they need to do better in transition. Like, they need to get back. They need to make sure that they're marking the right guy. Like, all of those things that we've known about this team. Like, the defensive holes and problems on this team, even at full strength, were something that we knew, on paper, and then we've seen on reality, was going to be a thing that the Lakers are going to have to contend with. And they're going to try to have to be a sum greater than their parts, and then, hopefully play extremely well down the stretches of games if they really have to put together 5 to 8 minutes of strong defense down the stretch, pull out wins, whatever. They were supposed to be, or at least I think they envisioned themselves as an elite offense. And I know it is difficult for them to be that version of themselves without Austin and in a game where Rui doesn't play. Like,
for sure,
the offensive ceiling on this team has legitimately been lowered with those two guys missing. We are seeing the effects of Austin's absence. Like, the offense has become much gummier. It's more predictable. You have fewer variations and options, all of that stuff. But none of that changes the fact that these guys need to be able to make open threes, like open shots. What happened tonight, in all honesty, could have theoretically happened with Austin and Rui available. Like, maybe they don't have to attack the same way. Maybe they don't go at Sacramento's defense exactly the same way, because Austin and Rui offer you different options. But the same problem of not having enough shooting or guys not making shots, that's happened with this team at full strength. I mean, hell, they don't involve their best shooter, Rui, enough as it is. Like, even when he's available, they barely give him enough shots.
It's just, there's, of all the things, like you say, like, everybody sort of expected, like, defense is going to be a little bit of an adventure this year. Like, sometimes it's going to be good, sometimes not, whatever. But the inability, and I understand it, like, this game is incredibly frustrating, but not the best. Monday is about roster construction, to me, more than it is about game plan. Like, they got a lot of wide open shots and they missed them all. And you can't just say, fluky, it's going to happen sometimes, because more often than not, they miss them all, which is why they are one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the NBA. When they have everybody back, though, then it gets into the something's just not quite, doesn't quite mesh. And they clearly don't have the right mix of players. It doesn't mean they can't be competitive in games, but there's not nearly enough depth to the roster. And then there's just the skill sets are all over the bleeping place.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of games this week. So this week's shows are going to be centered a lot around just post-game reaction. But after we get through this stretch of 5 games, I believe it's 5 games in 7 days, something like that.
We'll see after I wake up from my nap if I'm going to be able to make one of those broadcasts.
I imagine we will start getting into questions of not just how much can Rob Pelinka transform this roster at the deadline, but frankly, how much should he? Like, how many resources, how much of the very small amount of pathways that they can walk at the deadline should they actually bother doing, knowing that in the offseason, they will have more options to build a more ideal roster around Luka more methodically, and these are going to be questions that I'm sure they have to really, really reckon with over the next month.
And how they play in these games is going to make a big difference in how they answer that question. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can hang out with over 37,000 subscribers. Do check the show notes, learn a little more about the Everydayer Club. We'll see everyone after the game on Tuesday.